good friend of mine, Sean Work, I've known for, she's well over a decade. We both were
That's right.
team leaders. Both of us from the Sacramento area. I've known him for that. His whole family came out. Actually, this is what I really want to impose on you guys. Realize that people like this with EXP is what separates us. By the way, our culture is tremendous. To have him come out here and bring his entire family out here, which he did pay for on his own. Now, I co-versed with a couple of things, but he did bring his whole family out here. Flew over here from California to do this for us today, and that's my point about something that you'll never see anywhere else. And I've ran my own company. I've ran Keller Williams. I've ran Berkshire Hathaway's. It was never there. Sorry, it just wasn't. It's the reality. I had to pay somebody thousands of dollars to come out and do what Sean's about to do right today. He's going to pour into you guys some amazing stuff because his stats will prove it. 22 years in the business, ranked 95th in the country, Wall Street Journal, over 4,000 transactions. The guy is a listing guru. He knows what he's doing, and he's very detailed, by the way, because he was in the Navy, he was intelligence, so you can't outsmart the guy. I thought I could years ago, but I never do. Every time I think I am, he kind of comes back at me and says, nope, and he pulls the rug out for me. Sean is that guy. He always is thinking ahead. He's great like that chess mentality. So he knows what he's doing. He's very strategic, and he's very good at what he does. He's going to share with you guys his strategies. He's had 21 proven strategies to be successful in the market, dominating right now. And I think listings is where we want to be at, right?
Absolutely.
That is the space moving forward. Nonetheless, I just wanted to let you guys know that that's the kind of culture we have here. I'm grateful, thank you, Sean, for coming out and bringing your family out here.
Flattered to be here.
Flying over the ocean for us. But without further ado, we'll give the stage, Sean.
Yes,
Welcome,
thank you.
sir.
Thanks, everybody. Yeah. Flattered to be here, was on the morning call. How many of you guys are EXP agents right now? So the majority of the room, and I heard the statistics, #1 in units, #1 in volume. That's awesome. Give yourself a hand. Give yourself a hand. And thanks, Chris, for having me out. You didn't tell me I needed to bring a suitcase full of money to, satisfy the designer needs of my children out here. Yes. They spent all day at the mall yesterday, so that was great. But this class or this information that I'm here to share with you today is the information that I share with my team and my organization. I hate talking about myself, but I'll just briefly share with you kind of my story and how I got into real estate and what I'm doing now and what the future holds for me. I come from a humble background. My dad was a disabled Vietnam veteran. I graduated high school, really couldn't afford to pay for college, so I went to like a junior college. I don't know what they call them here, but community college back in Sacramento. Got my associate's degree, and then couldn't really afford to finish that out. And so, long story short, I joined the Navy. Signed up for 6 years. Was thinking, wow, this is going to be great. We're going to go to the Mediterranean and do a bunch of traveling. And 9/11 happened. And actually was deployed at the time in the Indian Ocean. If you remember, we used to patrol the northern and southern zones of Iraq at the time after Saddam had invaded Kuwait. And so we were there performing those operations. Came out of the Strait of Hormuz, 9/11 happens. And so we're spinning circles in the Indian Ocean for about 2 weeks while they're figuring out what the hell we're going to do, where we're going next. And so that deployment turned from 6 months to 12 months. So was gone for a year, came back, and do you guys remember this new Maverick Top Gun 2, yeah. Right? Remember the female pilot in there? She had the Black Aces card. That was the squadron of one of the, or that was the squadron for one of the squadrons that was deployed on the boat. Long story short, the captain came to me and they were switching over from F-14s to F-18s at that time. And he says, you're coming with me again on deployment. So came back for 3 months, then was gone for another year. And so, long story short, my time in the Navy was I could either extend, and because I had been at sea for so long, my next duty was to be an attaché to the ambassador in the Netherlands. Really cool job, civilian clothes. And then I met my wife, long story short, and decided to get out of the Navy. Got sworn out of the Navy on Friday, started selling real estate on Monday. First year in real estate, closed 32 transactions. And I said, well, this is pretty solid. This is a good career. I'm liking the money, going from being in the Navy, making $40,000 to, I think that first year I made $250,000. And so I decided to stick around. Hey, let's keep going here. And so that was 2004, great year, 2005, and now we know what happened, right? 06, 07 happens. My wife's pregnant, she gets pregnant. We're at the start of the recession. I'm looking at this going, what the hell am I gonna do here? Like, I'm not going back in the Navy. And so had about 8, at that time, you know, we weren't closing transactions. The checking account gets smaller and smaller. And, you know, she's very pregnant. And I go, hey, do you trust me? Like, do you trust me? Because I'm going to take this money. And I bought plane tickets to 8 different states and went to 27 different asset management companies over a 2-week period. She's hauled her along with me, big pregnant. You know, we had a great time. And this is a story about resilience and going after it if you want something. Came back and had 20 listings. They had sent me 20 listings. I'm getting a little emotional about it, just thinking about it. But, whew, anyway, so 2008, 2009, each year I closed over 150 deals. Paved my real estate career, was at Keller Williams. How many of you guys were at Keller Williams before? Okay, was there for 15 years. Never thought I would leave KW. And then, well, before that, I was a team leader there. Opened up had a franchise and a market center at Keller Williams. And it just wasn't, the culture was changing there. We had somebody's thumb on us all the time. And you know what you'll realize about your business if you're plateaued? Plateau is an early death, guys, of your business. And you see it all the time in real estate. You see it a lot of times in other professional services too, where they're not growing. And so I looked at it and I thought, damn, I'm plateauing. And I'm not having fun anymore. So this is for you entrepreneurs. I don't know if you have lenders or title reps or whoever here, but if you're not having fun, you got to shake it up. You're not doing anybody any good. So long story short, Brent Gove. You guys, some of you who are at EXP or were at Build, you know Brent, right? Brent was my neighbor in the office at EXP, or at Keller Williams. And I saw, the night he saw the webinar for EXP the first time, he came out of the office and he looked like a ghost. And I'm like, are you having a heart attack? What's going on here? Like, dude, what's up? And he goes, I can't tell you. Well, the next week he left. He's a decision maker. And you'll find in this industry, the speed at which you implement equals your success, right? He was gone. And I held out for 18 months after that. I never thought I would. I thought you were going to have to wheel me out of KW, you know, in a coffin. He calls me up one day and he says, Sean, how was your profit share last month? And keep in mind, I had recruited about 130 agents at KW, right? It's like $400 to get profit share. To get profit share, there's got to be profitable market centers, right? Different than revenue share for those of you who know about EXP's model. At any rate, he called me up and he goes, hey, you know, what was your profit share? And I was being a little bit of an asshole, I'm not going to lie. I'm like, what was yours? And he said $180,000, 1 month. What do you think I did?
Right.
I said, because he had been calling me like for 18 months. Like, I don't want to go to coffee with you, bro. No. And then I said, you know what? That warrants a sit-down meeting. I said, I'll be at your office tomorrow, and you're going to show me your deposits. Trust but verify in this industry. So sure as hell, I went over there, and he turns his computer monitor around, and there's Wells Fargo deposits. Boom, 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 every month. And here's another lesson about sales and real estate and people. If they're in front of you, take advantage of scheduling something next. We call it the magic move. That's what Brent calls it. And he goes, we have EXPCon. Back in 2017, this is 2017, we only had 4,000 agents at EXP, right? So, and I hated the colors, hated the design, hated some of the dirt bags who came over before me to EXP, honestly, right? I'm like, no, dude. But the magic move, here it is. He goes, call your wife. I'm taking you for a day. You fly down to Vegas. I'll pay for the ticket. And let's do this right now. If I would have left that office, just like what we're going to talk about today, do not leave a listing appointment without something signed, without a commitment, without giving them a direction of what's next. But he goes, get her on the phone. He goes, hey, if I can take him for a day just down to Vegas and you know, change your life, change your financial future, change the lives of your children, will you let him come for one day? If he wouldn't have done that, I would have never come to EXP. Okay? You have impact over people's life. Take advantage of that. It's your responsibility. It's your duty to do that, to change other people's lives. That's why we're here, right? That's why many of us come to EXP. I've got no financial gain from this, but we're here to impact lives. And I know Chris would do the same, if I asked him to come speak for my organization. So that's a bit of my story. Now I have 250 agents in my organization across 9 states at EXP. Oh, look at me. I've just created my own party foul here. I have 250 agents across 9 states, and the financial model at EXP allows me to make a 6-figure income off of that, which was vastly different than any franchise system. And it's really changed my life because it's reinvigorated my desire to be here, to train, to coach, to change people's lives. And that's really why I believe we've been put on the planet. So the model at EXP really aligns with, my goals and my desires. So that's a little bit about me. Hope I didn't take too much time out of your day, but we're going to get after it. So here's what we're going to talk about today. Oh, by the way, just to validate myself, right now, and this is not a toot of the horn, I just want to share with you, right now we're rocking 35 listings and 8 escrows, okay? Yeah, so, just want to give you that validity. I'm not a guy who's just taking, a couple listings right now. This is what we do because we know from Keller Williams, lead listings leverage, right? You want to build a big business, you've got to commit to understanding how to be a great listing agent. In fact, I believe that the listing skill is the #1 skill for real estate agents to learn or brokers to learn, okay? So this is a compilation of everything that I've learned across the 20-plus year career that we use and that I teach my team and organization. So I got to ask you permission. Is it okay if I treat you like my organization and talk to you like I would if you were on my team? Yes. Is that okay? Yes. Okay. So now that we're through that break, yes, there will be some black and blue coming. So here's what we're going to talk about. 7 concepts, 14 listing attraction ideas, 3 listing tools, 21 actionable listing appointment techniques. I want to talk to you a little bit about attraction before I dive into this. If I told you to go outside and catch a butterfly, how hard would that be? Really hard, okay? However, if you've created a garden that has the right flowers and right food and other butterflies in it, what we want those butterflies attracted to you so you can go find them in your park, not that you're going to push energy on them, if that makes sense. Okay, that's what I want you to think about attraction. In today's swiftly changing real estate sales environment, prospecting and marketing, which are 2 words that we heard in our industry forever, they're really no longer the premier tools of top producing associates. It's attraction. What's the difference between prospecting and marketing, by the way? We're going to be interactive today, right? So we don't fall asleep. What's the difference between prospecting and marketing? Correct. Yeah. Actionable, not one is hoping and one is going after it, right? So I always use the analogy like this. Let's just use Banana Republic, okay? If you're driving down the highway and you see a sign that says, Banana Republic Chinos, you think, oh, that's good marketing. It's occupying time in my mind. Prospecting is that sales associate at Banana Republic calling you and saying, Chris, dude, I got your size, I got your color. They're half off. When are you coming in? Okay? One's hoping, one's going after it, one's in your face. So here's the attraction concepts that most top producers are using these days. Prospecting for one-on-one relationships. If you drop me here in Hawaii today with a license and said, okay, I need you to go out and be a top producer this year, I would meet with every business owner in Hawaii, every financial services person, CPAs, financial planners, attorneys, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if nothing else, if you're struggling with where you're finding the business, make a list and prospect to those people. Have them be much like a geographic farm, use a business farm. Start a networking group with these people. Marketing, outbound touches, we'll talk a lot about that today. Influence. When they call it a sphere of influence for a reason, right? Sphere of influence is your database, but how influential are you over the people that are in your database? Conceptually, I've made a thought of, if somebody wants to know real estate information, they'll go to my Facebook page before they'll go anywhere else. Influence means, what's the local news station around here? Somebody just tell me, what is it?
Hawaiian News Now.
Hawaiian News Now.
Hawaiian News Now.
Okay, so I want you to think that Hawaiian News Now called you and said, hey, I want you to do a daily editorial about what's happening in the real estate market, and I want you to put that on your Facebook page. And everybody that you meet, from business owners to here to wherever you go, you're gonna be Facebook friends with those people. And you're gonna post something every day. Why? That's your free commercial. That gives you influence over them. Persuasion. What we know about real estate agents is most of them are coming from other outside of sales related industry, and they don't have sales skills. They don't know how to connect with people. They don't know personality types. They don't know what are the right words to use. They don't up-level the words that they use. And that's all persuasion based. Media, it's where it's at right now. How much money are influencers making right now on Instagram and TikTok? Got to think about that, right? Way too much. I love it. Content and narrative. I'm telling my team right now, who's telling the story of what's happening in the real estate market in Hawaii? Anybody? Who's telling that story right now? It's your job to do that. Thank you. Thank you. By the way, going back to marketing, real estate agents are the worst marketers. Who's the number one agent in New York right now? Boston, Miami, LA. And you know him because of TV, right? Media exposure. So in just outside of that, who's the number one agent in Hawaii? Maybe you know, maybe you don't know, but perception is reality. And you've got to get as much exposure out there as possible. Data and analysis between the narrative and the data that's happening. Like I tell my team, you're my team now, so I'm telling you guys, man, you got to get in there and share what's happening with interest rates right now. What are the opportunities for a buyer or for a seller in this market? What's happening? How many days on market on average in Hawaii, or in this zip code right now? That's all the language of real estate. It's imperative that you know that, because what you'll find is all of these are grouped together. If you're putting good narrative and content out there, you become influential and persuasive. They're all interconnected. And then all of these center around 7 ways to attract people. This is creating your butterfly garden. Okay? Does it make sense? Yeah. Cool. Okay, so these are ideas to be implemented by you, your team, or your virtual assistant. Before we talk about this, how's inventory doing locally here? How's it? How's it? It's low. Okay, so it's what? Sluggish. Days on market are up? 45. And they were before the pandemic, what? Like 2. 2, yeah. So that's another topic to mention is, what are you saying to people when they're asking you, how's the market? I'll share with you what I say. It's stable but tough. What do you mean by tough? Well, it's not 2021 anymore. There's lower inventory. Buyers are a little bit on the fence because of cost and inflation. So things are still moving, stable but tough. So I want you to think about this. How many listings will you take over the next 5 months? Just in your mind, create that number. What we focus on expands. That's what we know. And that's the true goal, to help you attract, to help you build your butterfly garden. Number one, we've got to understand that there's a growth model. How many of y'all rocking databases right now? Okay, listen up. Most important thing that you have is your database. The compilation of names and numbers and people who know, like, and love you, who are being routinely touched by you. You guys are in outside services. Here's what I always say. How many real estate agents are there in North America, in NAR? Anybody know? It's about 1.2 million. You know how many transactions were done nationwide last year? Just over 500,000. So you've got double the amount of agents that you do property selling. Somebody else is marketing to your database. Somebody else is putting themselves in front of your client on a routine basis. Now, here's what I want to acknowledge. I want to acknowledge that every market is different and that some of these tactics and techniques won't work. For this market, that will work for the Sacramento market, that won't work for the New York market. You get what I'm saying. What will always work is the touches that are going out routinely to your database. Now, I didn't see a lot of hands, so here's what I want to share with you. You're part of the majority. 97% of real estate agents do not have databases. 97%. Even at EXP, when you ask the tech support, how many people routinely log into KV Core on a routine basis? It's only about 5%. Okay? This is the opportunity. Here's what we know about real estate. 95% of the business is done by 5% of the agents. It's no coincidence that that 5% connective tissue is the database. And you're going to go, and a lot of people will go, well, how many times should I touch them? Dude, it's got to be 2 or 3 times a week. Something coming from you. Facebook post, call, email, text, handwritten card. Because here's what I want you to think outside of this listing, because I'm here to help your business grow also, is really what would be great is if you could identify the top 25 people in your world who know, like, love, and trust you, who would send you 1 referral a year. And focus on them. And that would potentially give you 25 deals if you just got 1 referral out of each of those people. But what we know is 10% of your 10% of the database of your database are ready to make some kind of transaction, buying an investment property, doing a 1031 exchange, buying somewhere else, selling. So we've got to take advantage of that. But a lot of people don't understand that there's a sales funnel that must be maintained and initiated. So that's number 1. Number 2 is working lead pillars. Anybody have a good idea what a lead pillar is? Anybody ever done Tom Ferry in here? Do we know who Tom Ferry is? Yes. Okay, good. So a pillar is a form of where you're getting your business. It could be database, it could be an open house, it could be electronic farm, it could, whatever it is. Well, here's what we know. 1 to 3 pillars will give you an okay business. You want to be okay? You tell your kids to go to school to be okay? That's C level, right? 4 to 6 pillars, good business. Things are moving. 7 to 9, great business. 9 to 12 pillars. This is where you start building teams and empires, okay? So as you're sitting there thinking about, well, what's he talking about in regards to these pillars? Somebody asked me a couple weeks ago, what's the number 1 thing that you would share with a new agent or somebody who's relaunching their career? And here's what I share with them. Your job is to build a marketing and prospecting company before you master real estate. So think about, and I asked the rhetorical question of, what's the last marketing book that you read? What's the last podcast that you listened to about marketing? Because it's changed. Consumer behavior over the past 10 years in real estate has changed dramatically. At least in Sacramento it has. The way people are finding properties and how they're engaging in real estate. And now you got Open Door and you got Redfin and you got all these other conglomerates. There's actually $500 million $500 million invested in the real estate tech space right now to take business away from us. So what are your pillars of real estate? And if you're looking at me going, hey, I don't really know what they are, just start 3. Hey, I'm going to get my database going. I'm going to do an open house on a routine basis to try and get traffic, and I'm going to do a corporate program where I go and meet with financial planners or CPAs or attorneys on a routine basis. Come up with those 3. That will be the start of a different flow of business where you're building a pipeline. Okay? Is this making sense?
Yes.
Is this good so far? Okay. All right, good. So if you're using KV Core, how many of y'all at EXP are using KV Core? That's brilliant. I love it. So the beauty about KV Core is that it doesn't charge you for text messages. So what I want you to do when you get back home today is put everybody on a text message. Give everybody a text message from your phone. Hey, sorry I haven't kept in great contact. I want to let you know this is my KV Core number. I'll be routinely reaching out to you on this number. Here were the results. This is Tom Ferry results. For a single agent, out of 181 text messages over a month period, They got 144 responses, 44 people raised their hand, 38 had CMAs created, 12 are nurtured for 1 to 2 years out. 3 listings were taken, 4 clients were referred, and 2 clients got pre-approved by investment properties. What I want to share with you is my own personal plan with KV Core, because it's free. So what can you set up with that? You can set up agent-to-agent campaigns. You can buy emails or text messages for a certain zip code. If I wanted to buy, what did you say? 96826? If I went online right now and said, I want to buy everybody's email address who lives in this zip code and phone number, I could do that. I could upload it into KV Core. I could set that campaign so that every month these people got a market update from me. That's smart marketing. You should do that, okay? But what you'll find is the results of the responses are about 10%. The same that we were talking about before. 10% of the people in your database are willing to, are in this position where they're willing to make a transaction. Here it is. Text everyone in your database over the next 4 weeks. Hey, Bob, hope you and your family are well. Crazy times. This real estate market is bananas. Da, 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 da. If you haven't heard, I was reaching out to see if you were curious about the new value of your home. Something that simple. Then you could, and if you don't want to send it out from KV Core, you're not using that, then you can copy, paste, change the name, and send. Pretty simple, right? Okay. Leverage your qualified buyers to attract sellers. How many of you are working with buyers right now who are looking for the perfect home? Okay. So here's what you can do. In that area that your buyer is looking, hand-addressed, hand-stamped envelope, non-branded, use an auto-wear small envelope. This one's pink. Follow up with a phone call. We have 16 buyers pre-qualified. And are y'all, Chris and I were talking about this today. Are you using Property Boost and KV Core? So perfect. This gives you, if you're running that ad, it really, in a specific geographic area, it really does give you a list of buyers who are looking in that specific area. Would you agree? Okay. Easy stuff so far. Case studies versus just sold cards. What's the message that you're sending to attract people? Again, that's the goal here. I see all the time, just sold on social media. Tell the story, guys. Nobody cares that the property was just sold. What did it do for you? What did it do for the client, right? How did you beat out the other offers? What is that? What's the story of the single mom who bought her first condo, right? That's the story we want to tell. And then, case studies. This would be, just sold. So we've got 6 offers in 5 days. It tells the story. A lot of people don't know that there's a background of a listing. We met, we got the property prepared, we staged it, we got professional photography, we did a broker open, we had a private evening tour. X amount of people looked at it on Zillow, which produced 6 offers in 5 days. Okay, this is another one, which is what your numbers mean to the client. So if you understand days on market, if you have a property that's longer days on market, it's costing your seller more money, isn't it? Maintenance, upkeep, potentially vacancy. So if your days on market are less, then you could potentially save them money. Do you guys talk about list price versus sales price at all? Because what I would do is I would go in and I would say, me versus the MLS. My statistics are I sell the property at 102%, where the rest of the MLS is at 98%. So if you're working with me, that's a 4% difference. On $1 million property, that's 40 grand. Okay? So, and I'm going to burn through these a little bit because we're running short on time here. So after you sell the property, get a letter of endorsement from the neighbor. You write it and get them to, for your neighbors, get them to sign it. So you write it, they approve it, and you mail it out. Working with Sean was great. If you're thinking about selling, he's got my endorsement. This is a question. At what price would you consider selling your home? We have this thing at EXP, it's called express offers. They'll write do you have it here? Yeah. Okay. So they'll potentially write an offer on the property. And most of the time, I'm not going to lie, it's not going to work out. But this is a hook to get them into your world, to get them into your pipeline. At what price would you consider selling your home? Everybody has a price. Most people do, at least. Okay? this is another topic of when you're going into a listing presentation. We've got to have different strategies. You want to sell it now? We could sell it to, like in Sacramento, we have offer pads, we have open door, we have express offers. Do you want to sell it to an investor at a differentiated price, because these guys are going to offer you $7 of $10 for the house. The investors are going to offer you 15% less, or we can take it to market. Are you offering that strategy? Because when I'm going in, I'm saying, I'm a Zillow partner. I'm an open door partner. I work with them. And if you know those systems, you can inject, you can go in there and put an address in and get an offer on their behalf, okay? So a lot of agents that I'm hearing aren't leveraging that. You leave the listing and then they go on open door or whatever and they get a, cash offer or something and you lose that deal. So there's another thought about it. All right. Number 11, investment properties. You probably have a lot of those here on the island, right? So what we know is there's 138 million homes in the United States, and 15% of those are investment properties. A pretty good number. So especially think about this, if you could get a list of non-owner occupants who are in different states to be able to market to them. And there's actually, I can't remember the name of the website, but there's a website, I think it's Rent something, where you can go in and buy these lists, okay? But the beauty of it is they're electronic, guys, so you can upload them into KB Core, tag them, and say investment properties, and be sending them emails or texts all the time. Investment properties, we're going to keep going. 12, obviously make your calls. And I'm going to share this with you, Chris. If you want this slide deck, then you can reach out to Chris. Okay, so for those of you who've been in the industry, PC means past client. Mail all of your past clients from 2010 to today. CMAs of what's happened. What's the value of their house? You can also drop it off. One of the things that I do if I get a lead, we drop off a pre-list packet right on their doorstep to ensure, it's just a customer service touch. Leverage express offers or iBuyers. Okay, so here are the 3 listing tools. What I want to talk about for a moment is the difference between a standard and an expectation. So a standard is the level of quality that you accept as a norm, okay? So I'm going to ask you, what's the standard for your listing presentation? Does everybody get the same listing presentation? Are you treating it like a play? When I think about going to a listing, that's how I think about, like, what happens at a play? We have opening, sets the tone, and then what happens in a play or movie next? Learn a little bit about the characters. What's the theme of the movie going to be? What are you there for? What problem is going to get solved or cured or fixed? And then we get to the ending and that gets resolved. That's what a listing should feel like. When you're going into a listing, it should feel a bit like a story, okay? Sales is telling stories. That's the best salespeople are good storytellers. And then what is your expectation? Which we know an expectation is a strong belief that something is going to happen. So what I'll ask you is, what's the expectation when you go on a listing? Should be, I'm going to walk away with a signed agreement, right? Every time. My expectation is if I go on 10 listing appointments, I'm going to get 90% closing rate. So I want you to think about those and overlay them in the general idea of going and taking a listing. Here's what we know. This is tool number 1. Going back to that, starting a marketing and prospecting company. If I asked you today, how many touches did your business send out today? What's a touch, guys?
Anything. Email, anything.
Email, social media post, phone call, text, door knock, whatever it is. Those are touches. What we know is that touches equal contacts. What's a contact? Contact is somebody inbound. Hey, I saw your sign, I saw your postcard. Thanks for texting me. I saw your social media post. And then that leads us to leads. Anybody buying Zillow leads? What I would challenge you, or whatever else, buying other leads. What I would challenge you, anything that's not a referral is really a contact. It's not a lead. A lead is somebody who raises their hand that says, hey, I want to buy or sell within the next 6 months, 3 months, whatever it is. Those maneuver to appointments. If I was your coach, I could tell what the health of your business was by one defining factor. How many appointments are you going on a weekly basis? Now, here's what I share with my team. Just because you don't have an appointment with a buyer or seller doesn't let you off the hook for meeting with somebody, okay? There's no blank time in the calendar if the desire is consistency. So I tell them, hey, okay, you've sent all this out. Now, who are you meeting with next week? What's today, Thursday? Who's in your calendar for next Thursday? Your goal every day when you come to work on a Thursday should be, who am I meeting with next Thursday? Face-to-face appointments, belly-to-belly. Relationships are something no one can take from you. If you're buying Zillow leads and Zillow goes under, sales, something happens, your business crumbled. You're reliant upon somebody else. No matter what type of market we're in, no one can take relationships. Buyers, sellers, foreclosure market, whatever it is. Okay? So, number one, buyers or sellers. Number two, referral partners. Okay? If I came to work today and I couldn't schedule an appointment with a buyer or seller next Thursday, I'm going to call you guys and go, hey, I got an open spot in my calendar. Let's go have coffee. The importance of that, I can't underestimate the importance of this, because what it does is it sets good habits, number one, and you learn how to connect with people, how to read them. What they're wearing tells a lot about a person. Okay? The questions that you ask, the quality of the conversation. Super important that as salespeople, we develop that skill. Okay? So, number one, buyer or seller. Number two, referral partner. Number three, sphere of influence. Somebody from your database or lead tracker or lead log. And then number four, if you've gone through all those and you still can't schedule a face-to-face or a coffee or a lunch, then you go to your top 25. And you go, hey, I got an opening next week, Bob. Let's meet at the country club and have a cocktail. That makes sense? If you fill up your calendar every day with a face-to-face appointment, you will win in this game. Okay? So, appointments, which lead to contracts, which lead to closing, which lead to profit, and we circle back around. So that's the tool. Number two, expert behavior. And I'm just going to touch on this really quickly because there's a lot to this, but here's what I'll say. The words that you use share your confidence. And if I came here and I said, I think we can get $1 million for your home, versus I know we can get $1 million for your home. There's two differences there, and the dialect is super important. I want you to get boisterous with your dialect and confident. But what we know is agents only close, 80% of agents only ask for the close one time. I'm going to go over a couple closing techniques with you today. But every time you're with somebody, this is the magic move. Hey, I'm trying to close 3 or 4 different ways. Power list. Hey, let's sign a power listing. Oh, I'm going to take it for 30 days. Hey, I'll give you a 24-hour release clause if you sign the listing agreement today. Hey, commission? Yeah, you want a 0.5% discount? Let's sign it today. Because I know, guys, if I don't take that listing, I walk out of that listing without something signed, 80% of the time I'm not going to get it. I let somebody else come in and outsell me. Okay? So, super important. Expert behavior. And then this 3 is a concept. Here's what we know. Business starts with relationships. What do you mean, Sean? What does that mean? NAR, our lovely friends. Everybody love NAR? You want to give them a shout out right now? I don't think so. But NAR said 2023, 86% of buyers and sellers who were surveyed came from what? Referral. That means you got 14% any other way to get business that all other agents are trying to leverage and pay for and attract. And I'm telling you right now, don't spend a damn dime in 2024 or 2025. Go and build relationships with people. Start your own networking group. Start 2 networking groups. We know that business grows with appointments. Again, if I was your coach, I would say, how many appointments with buyers or sellers you're having? You had this last week. Could tell the health of your business. See, and it explodes with contracts after that. All right, we paved the way. You ready to rock? Cool. So, again, setting the tone. When you go to a listing appointment, it's not just about, man, I'm going to get that listing. You're there trying to sell 3, 4, 5 different topics when you walk out of there. Number one is for you to select me, my team, as the company of choice to market and negotiate your house. Number two, to select the right price. Number three is to fix the property up potentially or stage it. And number four is to select my desired professional fee. See how we're upping the conversation instead of saying commission? It's my professional fee. It's my marketing fee. Would you agree that that's a lot to do in an hour? Okay? So what we've got to do is we've got to become ninjas. You got an hour to get in, because the statistics say any time that you're there over an hour depletes your chances of maneuvering forward. So, here's the assumptions, right? That you've pre-qualified these decision makers, that before you got there, you know the who, the what, the when, the why, and the how much. And that your goal, when you're pre-qualifying them in this initial conversation, is to find the solution that you're there, the problem that you're there to solve. Number one, here we go. Be the market expert and make it known up front. So, when I sit down with a new client, the first thing I'm going to talk about is the market. Here is how the market is. If you went in and talked with a financial advisor, when you first sit down with them, what would you want to hear from them? Want to hear, how's the stock market doing? Where should I invest my money? What do you see the pitfalls happening in the future? Are there new regulations that I should be concerned about? So when you go there, I want the first conversation that you have with them when you're sitting down is, can I share with you a little bit about the market? And I want to start wide. Here's what's happening with interest rates in the nation. And then I want to maneuver in, and I'm going to talk about this in a moment here. But then I want to maneuver in. Here's what's happening in California. Here's what's happening in Northern California. Northern California has some problems right now with insurance. Okay, fire insurance is through the roof. So we're talking about that and how that devalues right now prices. Then I'm going to talk about what's happening in the zip code and in the neighborhood and then on that specific street. So that by the time I get through this 10-minute conversation about the market, they go, this dude knows what he's talking about. I can trust him. You're there to establish rapport. Has anybody read, it's the new way, it's a question book, but what it talks about is the four levels of conversation. And the first level is to create curiosity, okay? The second is validity. The third is finding the problem and then solving the problem. So what you're doing here is you're creating credibility. Here's what's, and the reason I'm showing you this is what happens, well, my dot won't show up on there. But what I'm telling my team right now, guys, is, dude, you got May, June, July, and August before the market takes off. What are you doing right now to go out and secure business? I know this is going to sound intense, but if I had a gun to Chris's head and I said, Chris, go get a listing today, would he do it? Some of us may not be operating with that level of intensity, but he would find a way to get a listing today. He would go down to the local news station and say, dude's got a gun to my head, I need a listing agreement signed. Where am I going to send it? Who am I going to docu-sign it to? But what I'm saying here, guys, is this tells us when we're prime to go out there and be representing buyers and representing sellers. So this is what's happening in 96826 right now. So I would share this information with them. Let's talk about a little bit what's happening in Honolulu now, before I get to the neighborhood. Hey, we've got a list price of 1.55 million. We've got average days on market for all quartiles of 131 and 105 median days. I'm going to share this information, and then I'm going to say, overall though, since December of 2019 to now, we've been pretty stable. That's what the stats say. And then here's what's happening within the quartiles. Those properties that those properties that are about 1.6 are on the market for about 56 days. I think you said something of 45, so we're pretty close, right? So I'm going to walk them in. Here's what I want to share with you. We're right where we should be as far as the market is concerned. In economics, there's an item called there's a name called a beta line. You draw it through kind of the ups and downs of the market. So this is, for those of you who can't see, this is January 2019. This is January 2024. We're continuing to grow despite interest rates, despite COVID. We're short nationally inventory for people to buy and obviously affordability. So if I'm working with a buyer and they're skeptical about buying, I'm going to take this and show them. If I'm working with a seller, I'm going to go back and I'm going to say, hey, let's go back here. When's the best time to sell? Some of you are going to say, well, June, July, and August. But in reality, April and May are the best time. This is a national statistic. What's going to happen in June and July? We're going to have more inventory on the market. Is more inventory a better time to sell? No, it's not. Okay, so let's talk about when the best time to time the market is. So if now we're almost to July here, I'm going to say, hey, maybe wait until August or September. Oh, by the way, but what's happening in August and September? Almost election time. What happens during election time every year? Anybody know? Empirically, what happens? Rates go down a little bit, but so does demand because people are so scared. Democrats are afraid Trump's going to win. Republicans are afraid Biden's going to win. And everybody, what do people do when they're afraid? They turtle up. Fly, fight, or freeze. Okay? So this is a little bit about understanding the market. We're right where we should be. Number 2, 10 words that are creating fear in your clients. And I'm going to go over them quickly. Number 1, never use the word price. It's total investment. Down payment is now initial investment. Contract is the paperwork or agreement. Sign is not sign. It's endorsed, authorized, or approved. I could teach a whole class on these words, so I'm maneuvering quickly. And when you get the slide deck, please go in and dive into these and commit to never using them again. Buy is not own, because what we know is we're not going to buy anything, and people love to own, but they don't like to buy. Sold or sell. Oh, I sold them a house, or I sold your neighbor a house. No, I helped them acquire. Okay? Objections, area of concerns. Deal is the opportunity. Never use the word deal. How many of you ever gotten a good deal in your life, really? Where you just go, damn, that was a good deal. Very rarely does it happen. Usually if it's a deal, it's a scheme. Or it feels that way. So don't be using deal. Use opportunity or transaction. Problems is challenges. For new agents in the house, you never call your seller with a problem. You only call them with solutions. Okay? Right? Here's where we're going to go. We got rats in the attic. What are we going to do?
I have a cat for you.
Yeah, we got a big problem. No, hey, I've already called the other agent. Yeah, I got a big cat. I love that. We're bringing the cats over. No. But you guys get what I'm saying, right? Hey, I've already called the other agent, and we're having the pest company go over there. They've already agreed to pay for it. Boom. Okay, so ask yourself, where does your current verbiage come from? Comes from your family and your history and your education and your past mistakes and selling language. But understand, consumers are scared of salespeople. Why? Why do I know? Okay, going back to the Nordstrom yesterday. Thanks, Chris, so much for taking my family to the damn mall. I owe you one, buddy. But salespeople, you go into Nordstrom, right? What happens when you go into Nordstrom? You walk in the shoe department, and they come up and say, what do they say to you?
Can I help you find anything?
How can I help you? And you say, I'm just looking. Okay, why? Because you don't want to be bothered by them. You don't want to be upsold, you know. But what will happen when you find that pair of shoe, where do you go? No, you go to the first person that's available. You don't usually go back to them, right? You go, okay, you're going over here. So we're scared of salespeople. People are scared of you. Your language needs to reflect a more polished version of the way salespeople interact with their consumer, okay? And cheaper. No, it's never cheaper. It's more economical, okay? So, number 3, create a coming soon video. If you're going to a listing appointment, I want you to take the time out to go and research the property and go, hey, Chris, here we are, you know, I'm in front of your house here, and you'll know that we're taking the video, and here's what I know about your house. And just like when we take the listing agreement, as soon as you list it, I'm going to send it out to my database of 100,000 real estate agents, and it's going to go on my social media of 5,000, and I know that will be important to you. Boom, click it and send it. You're building up, you're building a rapport, you're showing how you're different versus the competition. There's a website called Springs that you can make that little video, and it actually will turn it into a card, or they open it up and there's a little video, and you can send it to them depending upon the timeline of how much, the timeline between when you're going to go to the appointment and the actual appointment. Number 4, build an avatar for marketing. What's an avatar? Big blue guy? So when I'm sitting down or I'm researching the property, I'm going to go, who's going to buy this house? Is it an investor? Is it a first time? Is it a family? Is it a condo and it's going to go to a professional? Who's going to buy this house? And then the marketing that I come and share with the seller is going to be geared toward that specific avatar. That's what we're talking about, okay? Right. Hey, here's what here would be an example. I'll pass this around. Brought some examples for you, but if I know that there's a developer that's going to purchase the property, hey, here's the original aerial photograph. And will I spend money on an aerial photography before I even go to the listing? Sure. Hell yeah, nobody else is doing it. Cost me $300 to get somebody out there and do it, and it's going to make me, 20, 30 grand. And okay, and I just did this last week. So I got my 3D imager to put what it would look like for apartment buildings to go on the development project. Okay? You got to do stuff that will set yourself apart from your competition. I could pass this around if you want, but I think you guys get the gist or the idea. But that's how you're building avatar. The avatar of who's going to buy that. Okay. 5, be on time and bring your swag. If you know you're late all the time, how many late bees do we have in the house? Okay? If you know you're going to be late, this is the time where you go, okay, if the appointment's at 3:30, I got to get there at 3 o'clock. You're there, you're taking time to mentally prepare. People feel your energy. They pick up on it. If you're there and you're frantic, that's not good energy. You're huffing and you're puffing and you're under all this stress before you get there and you're sweating and, oh man, I'm going to tell you what, Brent told me this and I think it's completely true. People pay for your energy. Oh, yeah. So one of the things that's not in this is when you show up, man, you got to be the life of the party, and when you leave, you should feel drained. When I leave here today, hopefully I do feel drained because then I know I've poured all my energy into you guys, right? That's how you should feel when you leave. Okay, make sure your car is washed and clean. It's part of your branding. Buy a new outfit if you need to. If you got to feel good, you got your swag on, invest in yourself. Okay? If it makes you feel good, you got, yeah, I'm looking good. And think about that. Think about that in regards to prepping the home. You tell your clients, hey, make it look great. Get it washed, get it staged, make it look great. You got to look great. Okay? Swag. What does swag means? I'm not desperate. We call it commission breath, right? You feel like, oh, I need this listing, or I'm coming prepared, and I want you to think the conversation is elegant and calm and that you're in control. And here's what I'll share with you. If you're using these 21 techniques that I'm sharing with you today, and you really do it, my challenge is after you leave here today, you now know it. This is setting the bar for how you will go to each listing presentation from now on. And I swear to you, if you believe in me, you'll get 9 out of 10 listings if you do all this stuff. Number 6, know your value proposition. Here's why. We all have access to the same data. Your clients probably have access to more data than we do. Okay? So what is your value proposition? I'm the best negotiator, the best closer, have the most marketing exposure versus my competition. I work with premier vendors in the marketplace. I have transparent customer service, and I'm available with direct contact. Those are what your clients want to hear. I hear all the time in our neck of the woods, I don't know if people do it here, I'm the #1 agent in Sacramento. What does that mean for your client? It's not telling the story of what your service, what's that?
It means you're too busy.
You're too busy, maybe. Well, that's a good point because, and I'm not sure how the competition works here, but here's, you've got, in my neck of the woods, you've got mega teams and you got the individual agent. If you're going up against a mega team, then you have to say, here's why it's important to work with the doctor and not the nursing staff. And if you're part of the big team, then you've got to sell. Here's why it's important when you go to a doctor, who do you see first? You see the nurse. They weigh you, they take your blood pressure. And when there's a problem, I'm here. So you've got to have that sales idea depending upon where you're at in your career. Okay, here's the important part about it. Present several pricing strategies. I go, and I know agents aren't doing this because when I go to listing appointments, I'm asking them, hey, what did they bring to help you price the market? Because the agent will go, well, I feel that the property should be listed at, it's not you, number one. Here's what the market is telling us about the value of your home. Okay? But we've got several different pricing strategies, and the goal here, I don't know if you can, the goal is so that it's not combative against your, remember we're going back, we're trying to sell them on us, sell them on the right price. Well, this is the second component of it. So if I have 5 or 6 different pricing strategies and they're all within the ballpark and the seller goes, for instance, if all those ballpark numbers are 1.5 and the seller goes, I want 1.8, you can kind of say, well, based on the pricing strategy, share with me where you got that number. Okay? That's the goal of this. And to understand these different valuation techniques, here's the listing language pricing strategy. And again, I'm not going to dive through each one of these, but it is important that you understand days on market. It is important that you understand list price versus sales price so that you can accurately price the property. And this is from the Bay Area, but does your local board publish these numbers every month? Okay, if they do, this should be part of your listing presentation. Just pop it in there along with everything else. But what it tells me is, new inventory, sold inventory, days on market, sales price, price per square foot, listing price received. So at this time, they're getting 107% of list price versus sales price. Important statistics to know. And these are the different types of valuations, and this is the form specifically that I use. 5 different types. Now I've gone away, I'll be honest with you, because I've used this form for so long, I know it. I now use a pad of paper. In fact, I'm old school, guys. In fact, I got my yellow pad of paper right in here, somewhere, right here. Bingo. It's got my whole life in it. So I'll take the yellow pad out and I'll go, well, let's look at the different methods of valuation. Price per square foot, tax assessed value, CMA. I'm going to look at the off-market sales. You guys got a lot of off-market sales. Okay, it's important that you understand what those look like outside of the MLS. And I'm going to go list price versus sales price, days on market. And then when it gets to the number that I want, I'm going to circle that number. And then I'm going to ask, based on the research that I've done, are you in agreement that this is a good ballpark number? And then that way I'm going to test it out. See, everything is about a question. That's the book, Question-Based Selling. Read it. Great book, Question-Based Selling. I'm never, in a listing appointment, going to make a statement. Okay? Statements are like this. Questions facilitate conversation. What do you think about this number? Oh, well, I was hoping to get a little bit more of it. Oh, really? Like, what were you thinking? Can we compromise on that number? Are we in that ballpark? Okay? And also, that's what's called the Ben Franklin close. Pros and cons, writing it all out. Let them be part of the conversation. Let them be part of the solution, right? Get them engaged on it. You think about this, right? Either we're going to be combative or we're going to be partners and advocates to get to the goal of where we're going. Okay? Methods of valuation, we're going to go, okay, earn your fee. Don't call it commission.
Thank you.
Okay? It's my professional fee, my marketing fee, my brokerage cost, my listing fee, an investment in my services. Okay? And I want you to be upfront about it. When you go on a listing presentation, I want you to think, I have covered absolutely everything. There's no objections that are going to raise themselves at the end of the game. So I'm going to address this right up front. My fee is 5%, 2.5% to each agent. If I double end it, it'll be 4%. I'll reduce it by 1% with your authorization. I'll write it in there. I'm going to give you a 24-hour release clause where if at any time you don't like my services, you don't think I've lived up to what our initial conversation was, I'll release you of the contract. How does that make you feel? People don't want to be locked into long-term contracts. Okay? So you're paying me to market the property, and here's my marketing strategy. Be an expert and know the numbers. And I brought this for you. I think I have it here too. But you can kind of pass this around and look at it if you want. But this is an addendum that I put to the listing agreement, so it tells them everything that they can expect. Think about this. If you went to a listing presentation, you go, oh yeah, I'm going to get you some photographs, and we're going to do some aerial stuff. I'll put it in the MLS. What's holding you to that? Checking those boxes. You put this together. It says, here's our print materials and what they're going to look like. Here's our photography. Here's where it's going to be marketed on the internet, social media, open houses, at-home marketing, and email. Oh, by the way, another question. Would it be important to you that I had a database of 120,000 agents ranging from South San Francisco all the way up to Tahoe, that immediately when we put this listing in that they get e-blasted with that? Would that be important to you? Mr. Seller, would that be important? Yeah. Did anybody else have that? Guerrilla warfare a little bit. Did anybody else have that database? No. Okay. You're establishing your value proposition with these questions. Be an expert objection handler. And again, when you get this, you'll get the link to it. But these are the best objections and responses for the top 40 most objected to questions at a listing presentation. But here's what I say. If you can't handle the objections, maybe you don't deserve the listing. So we got to get studying on this. Mastery, they say, is 10,000 hours of studying. And that's the name of this class, Listing Mastery, really. We want you to go in there and really, the expectation is because I've mastered it, because I've studied it, because I know behavior, because I've done the background research, that I'm going to get 9 out of 10. I'm going to close 90% of the listings, right? Understand the pricing triangle. And here's basically what it says. Mr. Seller, if we price your house at fair market value, we should see 60% of the buyers in the market will come and look at your home. Because a lot of sellers go, what? Well, let's just throw it out there at a high number and we'll see what happens. But reality, what we know is that if you're priced 15%, 10 to 15% above market, only between 10 to 30% of active buyers in their area are going to really come and look at your property. So it's important that you share this pricing triangle with the seller. 11. Okay, this is one of my favorite ones. It's time for you to leave it all on the table. Remember before we said agents only try 80% of the time they only are trying to close once? So understand the conversations that you have yourself when you're in the car and you didn't get the listing. Here was the actual conversation I had, number one. Number two, it's a conversation you have on your way back to the office. Damn it, I should have said that. I didn't do that. We didn't cover that. I missed an opportunity on that. I only tried to close one time instead of 3. Or the third is, it's the conversation that you tell others, which is, they'll call me next week. They'll call me on Monday. No. Guess what? 80% of the time, as I mentioned before, they're not calling you. So lay it all on the table. And for me personally, I would rather be too aggressive and in control, maybe a little overkill, going back after it, only for one reason. Not because I'm a slimy salesperson, but because I know in my mind, if they list with me, they're going to get the best service. Okay? That's why I have the responsibility now to make sure that I close on them so that they get the best price and terms and experience. Okay, 12. These good so far? Okay. All right. We're moving quick, I know, but we don't have much time. So understand, again, questions sell. And here are 5 questions that you should add to your listing consultation. Question 1, what motivated you to meet with me today? You see, a lot of us get very diagnostic when we're put in a high stress situation. And going to a listing appointment is high stress, isn't it? Man, I got competition out there. I've got to close on a couple of different things. I want to get this commission for my family. I want to validate myself as a real estate professional. So we got to get good at asking these questions. What motivated you to meet with me today? Number 2, exactly what are we trying to accomplish today? What's your goal? Oh, I was going to go back to this. A lot of us start very diagnostically. you got to start with very open-ended questions. Tell me about your life. What's going on? Why did you buy this house? And then we maneuver into some of these conversations about pricing. And then we get very diagnostic. Well, when do you want to put the house on the market? What price do you want to put the house on the market? Don't revert that. The open-ended questions help you establish rapport. What exactly we're trying to accomplish? Where are you today and where do you want to be? What seems to be a problem, concern, frustration, or previous pain? What do you do when you go to, what's the first question that the dentist asks you guys when you go to the dentist?
Where does it hurt?
Where does it hurt? That's what you need to ask the clients. What experiences in real estate, what experience with agents have you had in the past that hurt? Because I want to make sure we don't touch it. We're very prevalent, or we understand where that pain came from. Okay, question 5. If this meeting accomplished everything you could possibly hope for, what would that look like? Well, Sean, you know, we're here. I really want to list a house with you today. It's going to change the rest of the conversation. Okay? But this will help you to develop a deep understanding of what your client is looking for. Always bring a gift. Law of reciprocity. What gifts have you brought before, Sean? Well, I had a listing in Rockland. Anybody know Northern California? Okay, it's right, well, let's just say it's below Tahoe, okay? And I knew that the seller was sick. So what do you think I brought her? So I brought her some Mucinex and some fresh orange juice, put it in a nice little bag with some tissue paper, showed up, won me the listing. Over 5 other people where other people had discounted the commission. When you give things to people, they feel obligated to give back to you. Another one, I went on Facebook before I went to the listing presentation, saw that she had dogs in her backyard that were playing with bunnies. There's a bunny rabbit, or whatever you call it, bunny den or something. The bunnies were coming out, her little dogs were playing with the bunnies. I went to the dog store, got a dog treats, dog toy with a little bunny dog toy. Brought that with me to the listing presentation, consultation, whatever you want to call it. Here you go. Wins you the listing, 5 other agents, okay? Always bring, now if you don't want to get that granular, which by the way, if you're doing the research about your sellers, you can go to Facebook and pretty much find out anything. If they're golfers, bring them golf balls. They have kids, I've brought Lego sets before for kids. Every time you go, it's worth an investment. Now, if you don't know anything about them and they're kind of hermitized, bring them a book, okay? But bring something with you every time. 14 is deploy guerrilla warfare. Here's what I heard this morning. I heard Coldwell Banker is your biggest competition out there. They're number 2. What do you know about Coldwell Banker? I don't know. You guys got to tell me. But I would use those to my advantage because the percentages say it's probably going to be another Coldwell Banker agent who's going to interview with them. Would that be a good assessment? So how can you do that? You can go in and pull Coldwell Banker's numbers from your MLS and go, hey, look at what EXP has done. Look at what Coldwell Banker's done. You know, Coldwell Bankers had 15 withdrawn listings in the past. Why? They didn't know how to price them correctly. You know, you don't have to use it if you don't need it, but if you do need it, and they go, well, Sean, I'm going to interview another agent. Oh, really? Do you mind if I ask what brokerage they're with? Oh, they're with Coldwell Banker. Well, let me share some statistics with you as you're researching to list your home. Boom, here you go. That's what a professional would do, right? Know the data. You can find that data. Okay. Number 14 is what we call the language of real estate. Oh, that's the same one. I'm going to keep going. But just understand, these will help you to understand how you compare individually as a team or as a brokerage to other people who are out there. Maybe some of you are in a tight neighborhood where you have a specific Compass broker that sells, or team that sells a bunch of homes in that area. Well, then go pull those team statistics instead of the brokerage statistics. 15, know your customer. This is what we call triangle for trust. Every time I go to a listing presentation, I look them up on Facebook. What do you think I'm looking for? Yes, of course, I want to know who they are, but more importantly, I want to know who they know that I know. Because, Dustin, if Dustin and I are friends, I'm going to go and drop Dustin's name. How do you know Dustin? We've been friends forever. Right? Okay, it's all about preparing to go to battle, right? I want you to think, man, I'm going to a listing presentation. I'm going to battle against other agents, against the market, against the price. against staging it, against getting the right commission. You are going to battle. So what do you do before you go to battle, guys? You arm yourself. And all of these things we're talking about is about arming you. Triangle for trust. What hobbies do they have? What do you have in common? Research the other properties that they've owned. Like when I go on a listing presentation, I'm going to search their name to see if they own other properties. Why? Maybe there's an opportunity to sell those too. Okay? Find their motivation, and most of all, understand their DISC profile. Do you understand DISC, you guys? Are we there? Here's what I'll share with you about DISC. Outside of this, I think it's the next one. It's super important. It's the most important thing that you'll do is understand human behavior as a salesperson. But you must understand yourself too. Based on your DISC profile, where your weaknesses and you know, where the positive things that you can account for in your business. If I'm a DI and I'm talking to an SC client, if you don't know these, I'll just give you a little bit of a brief. Driver, influencer, systematic, and compliant, basically. I have to really, if I go in there and I know and they're wearing kind of drab clothes or pastels and everything's very tidy and kept, I'm going to go, okay, they're SC. They got a state job maybe? They like everything? That's complete. Those people scare me. Just kidding. It's a joke. It's funny. But here's going back to building your marketing and prospecting company, go and look at what you are and don't fight it in how you're securing clients. What do you mean, Sean? If you're a driver and an influencer, don't be calling. Don't be systematic. Go out and build relationships. If you're very much on the SC side, you got to build those systems up because that's what makes you comfortable. And if you put a driver or an influencer on cold calling, what happens is you have a natural and an adaptive personality type. Naturally, I'm DI, but could I cold call? Yeah. Would it drain me? Of course it would. When it drains you, that's a rubber band that's stretching. The longer the rubber band stretches, the more burnout you have. And then it will snap and you'll go, fuck it, I'm getting out of real estate. So go back, understand yourself, and market in a natural manner for who you are. Okay, it's the biggest breakthrough I've ever had. Because for some of you who are new agents and you started on a team, you go, just start pounding the phones. That's not good leadership. And for those of you who are building organizations or teams, you better know the DISC profile of the people that are on your team. Because some of you are trying to put a round peg in a square hole. And maybe you're doing that yourself with the way that you're marketing or prospecting. Is that good? Yeah. Okay. Prepare for a yes with a pre-listing 8x8. Has anybody heard of an appointment bridge before? Okay. This is a sales technique for agent attraction, for selling a product, or for a listing appointment. And basically it says, what are the 8 things that I'm doing before the appointment? What are the 8 things that I'm doing at the appointment and the 8 things that I'm doing post-appointment? So that there's a system for that. And this is what it would look like. Prior to the appointment, this is 7 to 8 days prior. We're studying their business, triangling for trust, sending them a note card, emailing them a confirmation with account prior to the appointment. And this is one of the things that I send prior to the appointment so they can meet the team. Just a little, hey, here's about me, here's about my TC, here's about my assistant, and here's about my buyer's agent. Just a little touch, okay? Now, at the appointment, we've gone in, we know the agenda, here's how this play is going to work. We understand their profile, we brought the gift, we've printed the agenda, we're building rapport through the question-based selling, finding a need, asking what. This is the best transitional sales phrase ever. Okay, especially if you're going to a referral partner. Do you have a database? Who doesn't have a database? It's okay. Chris doesn't have a database. For all intents and purposes, this thing.
I mean, yeah.
Chris, do you have a database? No.
No, I don't.
What if I could help you with that? That would be great. What if I could help you with that is the best transitional phrase ever. Make them feel great. You're leaving them, you're selling the energy. So that has to be part of what you're doing at the appointment. You could put in whatever else you want here. I'm just giving you my 8. And then after the appointment, let's just say I don't get it. As soon as I walk out, I'm giving them a text. Man, it was great to meet you today. I'm looking forward to working together. The presumptive close. You could bring a note card already filled out, drop it on the patio when you leave. Hey, I left a little note for you on the patio. Execute all promises and build the solution. Here's the beauty. I know we're using ChatGPT now. If you're like me, and in the listing presentation, consultation, you're writing everything down, you can come back, pump all those bullet points into ChatGPT, give me a solution, copy and paste it, and say, here's everything we talked about today. Just want to make sure we're on the same page. It's a touch. It's a customer. People want to feel important. Don't you agree? Okay. Confirmation email for the follow-up appointment, create a co-marketing agreement, practice your script for the next appointment, and now you're dating. You met them, so you could send them lunch. You could send something. If it's a referral partner, you could send something to their work. By the way, if you know where somebody works, send everything to the work address, not the home address. Why? If you're like me and you get home after a long day of work, you rifle through the mail and all the shit mail goes in the garbage can, and the one or two things, go up on the counter. They're not looking at it. At work, you have expendable time. Oh, maybe I'll take a look at it. Maybe I will open this up. Does it make sense? Okay, good.
And other people see, like if you send one
yes.
a card, like a gift or something like that, and the people around them see, and so you're subtly networking.
100%.
And then they're like, look, my realtor sent me flowers.
We may talk about it here in a moment, but for closing gifts, I used to send, have you guys seen like at Hallmark, they have the huge cards? I used to send those huge cards to their work address. And for that reason, oh, who sent you that stupid card? Okay, tell your story is next. We're looking good on time, aren't we? Okay. What time is it? Well, it's 5 o'clock. 17. So tell your story. I've been on 10 seller appointments in the past 6 months. 8 chose to list with me. After reviewing my appointment notes and masterminding with our agents, I've discovered that there's 6 main topics that sellers are interested in. Would you like to know what those are? Would you like to know what those are? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to pass this around because this is part of what I would drop off at a pre-listing packet. Can you just, everybody can kind of, you could take these and be happy to take your referrals in California. So when I'm sitting down, I'm going to say, I'm going to go back here, sorry. I think signing those out. I'm going to say, these are the reasons why your properties are going to sell or not. Number 1, price. Number 2, property condition. Number 3, timing. Number 4, location. Number 5, access. What do you mean by access? Well, you got a tenant in there, you got a dog. I can't show it all the time, so we need to get it vacant. And then number 6 is the agent you select. So out of those 3, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, which of those 3 are most important? That will tell you where their mind is. I want to know how you market. I want to know how we're going to show the house, and I want to know how you can help me put the property on the market in a great condition. So, tell the story. 18, show the process. So, show a case study. So take your last, you can do this when you go home. Take your last listing and put a case study together on it. And it says, it started with an initial consultation like this. We completed repairs and upgrades. We got professional photos done, drone Matterport. That yielded 5,000 impressions on Zillow and Realtor.com and websites. We followed up with a broker tour. We had 30 agents that came to the broker tour. That produced 5 offers. That produced 1 cash offer where we sold the house at 110% over market value. That would be an example of a case study. And you can put it together just like this. 123 Main Street, initial consult. Here's the total days on market, 5,000 views on Zillow and Trulia. So this is important. Sales is a story. Okay, along with those marketing books that I'm sharing with you that it's good to read, man, take a storytelling class. Online, you'll find one. Take a disc class, right? Those agents that are continuously winning in the market are all the time growth-minded. 19, have a listing binder with a marketing plan. Bring your binder every time. And that's going to have, the statistics that I shared with you earlier, the price pyramid, testimonials, your social media printouts, your property brochures, your postcards, and your joint marketing materials. I would have brought mine. Mine's about that thick. Okay? wasn't conducive to bring it. But it's got your copy of your real estate license in there. Everything, all the houses that you've recently sold. That way you can show what your binder looks like. 20. This is probably really important, is to know the listing documents, to be able to tell somebody, would you like the Reader's Digest version if they're very much a driver and impatient? Or I'm going to give you the full version if you're a very systematic or compliant person. So we close with this. Be prepared for them to sign. You're there for them to sign. Have those 3, 4, 5 different closing techniques available. And I'll say sign right now. And if you decide, after the moon goes down and the sun comes up that you don't want to list with me, I'll release you from the contract. But I'm here, you're here. Let's do it. I'll go 2, 3, 4, 5 times. 21. This is very important. Always give them what's next. What's your next move? When I'm meeting with sellers like yourself, here's how we finish this. They ask, what are you interested in? What interested you about today's information? What questions can be answered today? Follow-up. Are you interested in seeing how this process works? Are you interested in a follow-up meeting? Would you like to execute the paperwork? Would you like to have my photographer make a site visit? Yes. I'll say, hey, do you mind if I have the stager come over and just, talk to you about developing a theme for the property before we get it to the market? I'll pay for it. No worries. Do you mind if I've created websites before I've gone to luxury listings so that when I get there, the website's already done? Okay? Would you like to see more marketing examples? Are you ready to hire my team and I? Would you like to have a strategic session? This is important because if you're following up, if it's a long-term listing, and what are you doing each week? Are you ready to list? Are you ready to list? Are you ready? No, you need to have some other verbiage. Hey, how about we get together again? I know it's been 3 weeks, and I know you're not listing until, until the 1st of August, but I'd love to come over and have an updated strategic session about how we're going to expose your property to the marketplace. Okay? Or when would you like to schedule our next appointment? Oh, by the way, can we have a professional agreement that if you're not signing today, that you'll agree that you'll meet with me one more time before you execute the paperwork with anyone else? Put your foot in the door. If you can't close on them, get your foot in the door so that you're avoiding somebody else making the sale without you being the last one there. Okay, this is bonus. This is the anatomy of a third-party validation. How many of you have teams? Anybody? Okay, so this is an example of, that story or the play, right? This is the example of what it might look like. Number 1, clear the time. I'm here, you're here, let's focus. I'm going to put my phone away. Would love it if you would do the same so that we're focused here together. Number 2, here's why we're here today. Set the context. Number 3, really, I've researched you online. I know that you're a successful business person. I know that you went to Harvard. We don't do enough edification of our prospects. Build them up. Tee them up. Edify means tee. Why do you tee a ball up in golf for you golfers? Goes farther, flies higher. Edify everybody when you meet with them. You're teeing yourself up. Edify the senior partner if you're on a team. Pass to the senior partner and then shut up. If you're bringing somebody senior to you in and you start talking, you're really depleting their influence. Build rapport, gather the agenda. So going back to those 5 questions. So what is it that you'd like to learn today? What are we here for? If this meeting went great, what would that look like for you? Discuss the agenda items, discuss what's next and when, and then if you're with the senior partner edifies the junior partner. Thanks, Chris, for bringing me in today. Really appreciate, meeting. And if you choose Chris to be your agent, you're in right hands. You're in great hands, okay? Oh, that's Marguerite. Don't neglect your homework. Follow the process. Don't forget that finances can be touchy. Don't treat it too casually. Don't hard sell yourself. Speak slowly. Don't be ignorant of the sales cycle. And don't fail to recommend home improvements. I'm going to pass by that. Okay. That's it, guys. So what would be great, I know we're on time here, but any ahas there? You know what aha is?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't have any right now, but when would you like to meet for coffee?
I'll be around all week.
Don't forget to take your weight.
Give me your card.
I like the fire instead of create fire.
Love it. Anybody else? Okay, I'll let you off the hook. Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, good stuff.
All great nuggets, appreciate that. And again, 21 improvement strategies, which ideally each one of us has always been through some kind of event, right? Where we've heard something from somebody, something, and how many people actually walk out, leave the room, and never implement not one? That's kind of how it works, right? You put on a legal notepad, you get all the good stuff, you take it in, you throw it in your car, next thing you know, next week you're vacuuming your car, it's all in the trunk, buried to the tire. We don't implement. This stuff is not rocket science. It's not to just implement this like this sliced bread. This has been around for generations. The reality is consistency, creating systems, building it, sticking to it, consistency and discipline.
100%.
So if you guys can implement those things, discipline is key. If you can show me your discipline, what you're having, you can show me where you're going to be at. The reality is his methods are proven. He's done it, and again, it's not rocket science, but it does work. Find out if it does work for you. 21 are there, pick 2 of them. Walk out here and do 2 of them. If you do 2 of them, you'll change your game for the rest of this year. I promise you that. Don't try to go do all 21. I mean, if you're an overachiever, great, do 21. But if you're doing it, do something that's sustainable, and then you stick to. I promise you, it's long-term sustainability. But thank you for taking your time today. I hope the food was good. I hope the drink was good. I hope the content was good. And we look forward to seeing you guys again as we continue to grow this. The next event I have, a couple of things have happened challenging for July and August, but I do have my September guy coming out. So it's just one of these strategy pieces again, trying to get people to fly over from different parts of the mainland to come here. So we'll still have it though. Anything we need though, let us know. I'll put all this together. It's going to be on YouTube, it's going to be a video, and I'll put all the contact, all the slides out for everybody who wants slides today. Okay? Awesome. You guys have a great rest of your day. Crush it. Thanks so much for that. Rock star. I love it, man. Thank you, sir.